The tectonic plates of global power are shifting. For decades, Europe was a pillar of the Western alliance led by the United States. But today, September 18, 2025, several European nations are looking eastward with curiosity and ambition. They're exploring a future that could include membership in BRICS, the bloc of emerging economies challenging the Western order. This isn't just a diplomatic move, it could redefine global politics and economics for generations. In Washington, there's concern. In Beijing and Moscow, validation. In Europe, a fierce debate. Is this a pragmatic diversification or a betrayal of shared values? The answer is far from simple. What's driving this interest? Is it Western decline or BRICS rise? The stakes couldn't be higher. A realignment of this scale would force every nation to reassess its place in the world. Europe stands at a crossroads, and its choice will echo globally.
To grasp Europe's interest, we must understand BRICS' evolution. Coined in 2001 by economist Jim O'Neill, BRICS began as an investment term for Brazil, Russia, India, and China, fast-growing economies. But leaders saw more, a chance for greater global influence, often sidelined by Western institutions. The first BRICS summit in 2009 turned the idea into a political reality. South Africa joined in 2010, making it BRICS. The bloc built its own institutions, like the New Development Bank, offering alternatives to Western-led finance. In 2024, BRICS expanded to include Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE, Egypt, and Ethiopia, boosting its economic and strategic weight. Now, BRICS Plus represents a huge share of global population, GDP, and oil production. This larger, more assertive bloc is what's drawing European attention, not just as emerging markets, but as a geopolitical force. For over 70 years, Europe's security and prosperity rested on transatlantic partnership. NATO and the EU were built to ensure peace and shared values, with the US as leader. But recent years have strained this relationship. America First rhetoric, trade disputes, and doubts about US commitment. Europe began talking about strategic autonomy, acting independently on the world stage. Meanwhile, China and other emerging economies have become vital to European industries. The economic logic binding Europe and America is now more complex, with new markets pulling Europe in different directions. Divergences on global issues, climate, digital policy, China, have widened the gap. These shifts have made the once unthinkable idea of engaging with BRICS a real possibility. The idea of a European pivot to BRICS is becoming real. Hungary, an EU and NATO member, is openly assessing closer ties with BRICS, with its leaders praising the bloc's model. Austria, historically neutral, has sent business delegations to the BRICS New Development Bank and is exploring engagement. Serbia, an EU candidate with deep Russian ties, attended the last BRICS summit and speaks of balancing East and West. These are tentative steps. No major Western European power has signalled interest. But the actions of Hungary, Austria, and Serbia are setting a precedent and sparking debate across the continent. EU and NATO members exploring BRICS is a significant crack in Western unity. All eyes are on the next BRICS summit in early 2026, where new partnerships will be discussed. For European nations, the main draw to BRICS is economic. The bloc offers access to vast, fast-growing markets, over 45% of the world's population. Preferential access could boost exports, jobs, and growth, especially for export-driven economies. The BRICS New Development Bank offers alternative financing for infrastructure and green projects, with fewer political strings than the EU or IMF. But the risks are huge. Pivoting to BRICS could jeopardize ties with the US and EU, risking tariffs, exclusion, and isolation. The cost of losing access to Europe's single market could outweigh any BRICS gains. There's also a clash of economic models. Europe's high standards versus BRICS's looser regulations. Integrating with BRICS could pressure European countries to lower standards, sparking fierce internal debate. The economic calculus is a high-stakes balancing act, with immense potential and catastrophic risk. For Europe, it's a gamble with no guaranteed outcome. A European country joining BRICS would shake the global order. For NATO, it would trigger a crisis. Can a member be part of both alliances, especially with rivals like Russia and China? Most analysts say no, forcing a choice that could mean expulsion or marginalization within NATO. The EU would face deep rifts, as its project relies on foreign policy unity. A member breaking ranks could paralyze decision-making and embolden Eurosceptic movements. Globally, it would be a propaganda win for Russia and China, signaling Western decline and encouraging others to follow. The world could become more fragmented, with competing blocs and greater instability. For the US, it would be a strategic setback, weakening its alliances and forcing a rethink of its global strategy. A divided Europe would be a weaker partner in tackling global challenges. The old certainties of the post-Cold War era would give way to a new, unpredictable landscape. A shift toward BRICS would deeply affect European identity. For decades, Europe's sense of self has been tied to liberal democracy and human rights. Aligning with BRICS, home to both autocracies and vibrant democracies, would spark a national debate about what it means to be European. Some would see it as pragmatic, prioritizing prosperity over values. Others would see it as a betrayal. The move could fuel nationalism, with calls to reclaim sovereignty from Brussels and Washington. It might also open doors to new cultural exchanges with Brazil, India, and South Africa, making Europe more diverse. But this potential would be in constant tension with political and ideological divisions. The outcome would depend on whether nations can balance new connections with their core democratic values. Experts are sharply divided on Europe's BRICS flirtation. Realists argue it's a smart adaptation to a changing world. Diversifying partnerships is survival. Dr. Anna Petrovich says, the unipolar moment is over. Smaller states must hedge their bets. Proponents highlight BRICS's economic weight and the need for new markets and jobs. They believe economic interdependence can moderate political tensions. Critics, however, warn it's a Trojan horse. Russia and China seek to divide the West. Dr. Michael O'Sullivan cautions, this isn't a partnership of equals, it's a risk to sovereignty. They argue the EU and US will retaliate, and the costs of isolation would outweigh any BRICS gains. You can't be in the EU and NATO while aligning with their rivals, says a former diplomat. The debate is fierce, with no easy answers, only high stakes. We stand at a true inflection point. Europe's potential realignment with BRICS is a symptom of a world in flux. The choices made now will shape the international system for decades. The allure of new markets and sovereignty is strong, but the risks, shattered alliances, economic retaliation, social division, are real. This isn't a story with a quick resolution. The debate in Hungary, Austria, and Serbia may soon spread across Europe. The responses from Washington, Brussels, Beijing, and Moscow will be decisive. Will the 21st century be defined by rigid blocs or flexible multipolarity? The answer is being written now. The world is watching Europe, and Europe is watching the world as never before.